I was so thrilled. My sister Maureen and her amazing husband David were going to be visiting from Seattle, Washington. I adore my big sister and wanted her trip to be one built on memories. Our plan was to camp and canoe with them along with my family, consisting of Dad, Chuck, 22-year-old daughter, Tori, 20-year-old son, Tad, 16-year-old son, Tony, and last but certainly not least, our 21-year-old ginger snap neighbor and kid's childhood friend, Kyle. In preparation for the trip, I had endlessly skimmed websites to find the perfect place. It had to be perfect. Come on, it was my big sis. The Sturgeon River really intrigued me. I read things like fastest current in Lower Michigan, great canoeing, relaxing, any experience level. I then found a section that had a few recommendations that I thought were really helpful. The lower part of the river, north of Wolverine to Indian River, has a greater volume of water flow with many tight corners, logs, and obstacles to maneuver around. I would not recommend this stretch of river for beginners. And it went on to tell about river classifications. Class 2, Novice. Straightforward rapids with wide, clear channels. Occasional maneuvering may be required, but logs and medium-sized waves are easily missed. Swimmers are seldom injured. Class 3, Intermediate. Rapids with moderate, irregular waves, which may be difficult to avoid, and which can swamp an open canoe. Complex maneuvers in fast current and good boat control. Really? Seriously? Swimmers are seldom injured? Rapids that can swamp a canoe? I'm not entirely sure about this. What was I thinking? Well, Mean and David are exceptional canoeists, and I wanted to give them an exciting river experience. My family and I are good swimmers, and we've all canoed before. Yeah, we'd be able to handle it. The Sturgeon River shall be ours. The glorious day had finally arrived. Our campsite was set up, suntan lotion on, and lunches packed. Everyone was pretty excited, except Tori. She hadn't been feeling well, but knew she had to make the trip because she didn't want to disappoint anyone. What a girl. After arriving at the canoe livery, we excitedly paired up in our watercrafts and prepared for takeoff. I yelled to my canoeing expert brother-in-law and asked if the rapidly moving water and whitecaps were anything to worry about. Well, Mars, that's just the swiftly moving water pooling up in sections of the river. There could be an obstruction turning the water up. It shouldn't be a problem. Just paddle around it. Okay, that sounded reasonable. This was going to be a great day. The birds were singing their joyous songs of summer. The towering trees were majestically standing at attention like soldiers on guard, and the sounds of familiar laughter permeated the air. Today was all about family. I couldn't help but smile. Brought out of my reverie by triumphant shouts of victory. My eyes caught a glimpse of a canoe paddle being hoisted high into the air before it faded out of sight. I noticed a drop-off in the water level and realized we were approaching some rapids. We could do this. We own this river. It shall bow to our paddle strokes. The plunging dip was exhilarating. We actually felt like we were on a roller coaster. Hands in the air and butterflies in the stomach. This was going to be awesome. Further downriver, there were a few stumps to maneuver around, but we handled it like pros. Sometimes we had to duck under overhanging branches which held many species of spiders. Not a real favorite of the group. Other than those mild annoyances, the trip could not have been any better. The sun was shining, we were all having a great time building memories like I'd hoped. Then Chuck and I rounded the next bend. Come on, Tor, all you had to do was paddle. I was paddling. What do you think I was doing? Tori, I am just so tired of crashing into every stinking log we see. We spend more time in the river than in the canoe. Oh my God! Mom! Can you please switch with Tony? I can't take it anymore! I now had a new canoe partner. I continued to hear how lack of sleep and upset stomach were not making this trip any fun for certain people, and how know-it-all little brothers were not going to be tolerated. Tori, stop. It'll be okay. Try not to think about it. But Mom, I feel like throwing up, and the last thing I want to do is canoe. I just don't want to be here, she exclaimed, trying to hold back tears. Honey, we'll stop for lunch soon. We'll get out, relax, and maybe you'll feel better. We swiftly meandered around a bend and learned very quickly that our canoeing skills were not what we thought they should have been. Tori and I started heading right for a wonderfully placed tree near the riverbank. As I had learned to steer a canoe many years ago, I didn't know that there was actually a way to achieve this skill in a correct manner, and was quickly reminded of this by my most wise and considerate daughter. Mom, not that way. Other side. Paddle. We kind of look like those hockey players coming to an abrupt stop on the ice. Yeah, slid right into the tree. Tori, I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Just wipe the cobwebs out of your hair. At this point in time, I do believe that Tori's hearing had shut down and her ability to rationalize was gone, because I don't think my attempt at humor was agreeing with her. Her normally pleasant demeanor was changing into something not of this world. If looks could kill, sheesh! We continued on in silence. Lunchtime. It was a time of eating, interesting conversation, and a peaceful time to wade in the shallows looking for interesting rocks to skip. Laughter filled the air. Even though some of our nerves were frayed, we had time to regroup, some of us needing it more than others, and continued on with the last leg of our monumental journey. Tori and I decided to part ways as friends. My dear pal Kyle took over the partnership. Thank you, Kyle. No, really, thank you. Tori and Kyle dumped several times after lunch, but they seemed all right with it. The sun was high in the sky, and the cool water was quite refreshing. They also seemed to have a system down. Tori always paddled on the left, and Kyle always on the right. It worked, for a while anyway. They came upon a large overhanging tree branch that didn't seem to pose much of a threat, so Tori ducked under the branch. She figured Kyle would do the same. No. Seeing Tori disappear underneath the tree freaked Kyle out so badly he tried to bail. He felt the gripping hands of death at his back, dragging him under the water and pinning him between the log and canoe. In the meantime, Tori was feeling pretty good about her expert maneuver, until she popped up and saw another mass of branches directly in front of her. Survival instinct kicked in as she tucked into the front well of the canoe. The current was so strong she was ripped from her spot and plunged under the water. Confusion, terror, must hang on. She was able to break the surface of the water and looked back to see the canoe teetering under the log. The back was totally underwater, with the front sticking up in the air. All she could see were Kyle's pleading eyes barely peeking out above the surface. The swift current dragged him under the log, pinning him between the log and canoe. With the last bit of breath exiting his lungs, he started to say his goodbyes, probably to Tori, thanking her for this wonderful opportunity. What's this? Kyle thought. Air? Sweet, beautiful air? His shirt had broken free from death's grip, and he was alive. A euphoric feeling swept through him. He was unbelievably relieved. He grabbed that huge log of doom and hung on for dear life. Out of nowhere, Chuck and David came to the rescue before anyone could even move. Chuck leaped from his own canoe into the cold, waist-high river and fought the unforgiving current to reach Kyle. Knowing Tori was still trapped, David made a graceful jump onto a log and quickly snatched her from the raging river. The rest of us helped the kids to shore, hugs all around. We were overcome with emotions, fear, relief, laughter. Survivor men saved the day! That's what they thought the newspaper headline should say. But the ordeal was far from over. David, working his way off the logjam, turned just in time to see a petrified kayaker surging toward him. Survivor men save the day, ×2. It was actually a relaxing ride after that. Obstacles were kept to a minimum, and our minds began to recover from any unpleasant events thus far. Tori and Kyle's near-death experience was becoming that of legend. I'm sure the locals sell t-shirts that say, "I survived the Sturgeon River." But we really didn't need a shirt to remember that day. My family had been drenched, capsized, and scarred. We vowed never to canoe together again. I'm not quite sure where our next exciting adventure will lead us. I don't know how we could top this memorable day. But I do know, wherever we go, family will always be at the heart of it.